بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. ما زلنا معكم في هذه الليالي المباركة، ليالي العشر الأواخر من رمضان. Alhamdulillah, so the scholar said that when the khayl, the horses, when they get near to their target, that's when they spend more efforts, make more efforts to, that's the way they run faster to reach, to be the first to reach. That's where we are now. One of the things that can help us during these nights is to belittle our food at night. Because too much food causes laziness. You just told me when I was taking some water how important water is. It is also advised that one takes as much water as one can during the night so that one can hydrate oneself. That's all you need. Have water next to you. So you will have strength to pray more, to read more, to recite more. We also want to make what we call tanwi' al-ibadat. Do different types of worship. When we finish here, inshallah, read Quran, make dhikr, and we're going to come back here, inshallah, around 2:30. So, nawwi' al-ibadat, even during the day, spend, more than you used to spend. During the night too, make your sadaqat to the poor, to different organizations that are helping the poor, or different causes that serve humanity. And let these nights of these last 10 nights and these beautiful days of Ramadan serve as training camp to all of us. We don't want to be Ubadu Ramadan. We want to be Ubad al-Rahman. We're not servants of Ramadan. We are servants of Allah, the most merciful. So whatever we learn, it will take us beyond the month of Ramadan, inshaAllah ta'ala. May Allah make it easy for all of us. We stopped at the saying of the Mu'allif, وَمَنْ نَسِيَ الرُّكُوعَ وَتَذَكَّرَهُ فِي السُّجُودِ رَجَعَ قَائِمًا ويستحب له أن يعيد شيئا من القراءة ثم يركع ويسجد بعد السلام. If one forgets a ruku' and remembers it while in prostration, he must return to the standing position. It is recommended that he recite a portion of the Quran, perform the ruku' and then prostrate after the salam. What is recommended here? To recite a portion of the Quran. But the ruku' is not a recommendation, because it is because of the ruku' he went back up. Say you're praying, you are in sujood, and you remember, wow, I did not make my ruku'. He said you have to go back to the standing position. But when you go back to the standing position, it is recommended that you recite a portion of the Quran before you perform the ruku'. Then you continue. When you finish the prayer, you prostrate 2 prostration after your salam, because you add it to the prayer. وَمَنْ نَسِيَ سَجْدَةً وَاحِدَةً وَتَذَكَّرَهَا بَعْدَ قِيَامِهِ رَجَعَ جَالِسًا وَسَجَدَهَا. If a person forgets one prostration and remembers it after standing, he must return to the sitting position and perform the missed prostration. إِلَّا أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ جَلَسَ قَبْلَ الْقِيَامِ فَلَا يُعِيدُ الْجُلُوسِ. This is unless he had performed the sitting before he stood up, in which case he would not repeat the sitting. Now, one forgot a sujood, and he remembered after one stood up. He said he must go back, sit, and make the sujood, except if he did the sitting already, so he just going directly to the sujood without repeating the sitting. And he will perform sujood ba'di, and he's going to tell us that. Whoever forgot 2 prostrations should fall straight into prostration without sitting. One forgot both prostrations. Maybe he did a ruku', he went down, maybe he sat down, he didn't do the prostrations. When he went up, he remembered. One must go back to do both prostrations without sitting. Then he said, in all these cases, he prostrates after the salam. Meaning, ba'da salam is out. In all these cases we just mentioned. وإن تذكر السجود بعد رفع رأسه من الركعة التي تليها تمادى على صلاته ولم يرجع وألغى ركعة السهو وسجد ركعة في موضعها باليا وسجد قبل السلام إن كان من الأوليين وتذكر بعد عقد الثالثة. If he remembers the prostration after raising his head from the ruku' that follows it, he has to do these upcoming things. 1, he continues in his prayer. 2, does not return. 3, voids the deficient rak'ah. 4, adds a rak'ah at the end, building upon what he has already done. 5, prostrates before the salam if the mistake was from the first 2 rak'ah. And he remembered the mistake after completing the 3rd rak'ah. He says here, when he's praying, he forgot a sujood. And he remembers that he forgot the sujood after he raised his head from the ruku' of the following rak'ah. If you remembered before the ruku', he should go back. But now he remembers after he raised his head, he stood up from the ruku' of the following rak'ah. He said that in that case you must continue your prayer. You don't return. You void the deficient rak'ah. That means if that rak'ah was the first rak'ah, that rak'ah is removed from the prayer. That's to void it, meaning it's not part of the prayer anymore. Because you missed a pillar and you missed an opportunity to fix it. So if you were doing your second rak'ah, now your second rak'ah is your first rak'ah. If you were doing your third rak'ah, now your third rak'ah is your second rak'ah. So he says that then you add a rak'ah at the end, building upon what he has already done. What does that mean? Building upon what he has already done. It means when you remove the first rak'ah, which has Fatiha and Surah, at the end, the rak'ah you are adding, you don't add surah in there. It says you are building upon. You're not replacing, but you are adding. So that rak'ah is going to be your fourth rak'ah. Without a Fatiha, without a surah, sorry. With Fatiha, but no surah. That's why he called it baniyan, not making up, but building upon what he has already done. Because of that, he would prostrate before what? The salam. Now you're going to prostrate before qabla salam. Why? Because you add it, but you also subtract it. Because that rak'ah is voided. But the last rak'ah, but one of the rak'ahs which was supposed to have Fatiha and Surah had only which was supposed to have Fatiha and Surah had only Fatiha. So he says, in this case, you prostrate before salam. If the mistake was from the first two rak'ah, and he remembered it after completing the third rak'ah, because the third rak'ah didn't have surah, and the fourth rak'ah will not have surah, and one of those two rak'ahs which you are going to void had surah, and no rak'ah that has surah will replace it. Every rak'ah that is coming will not have surah. وبعد السلام إن لم تكن من الأوليين أو كانت منهما وتذكر قبل عقد الثالثة لأن السورة والجلوس لم يفوتا. He prostrates after the salam if. He told us in the first scenario we prostrate before. In this coming scenario we will prostrate when? After. If it was not from the first two rak'ah. I mean, if the mistake was from the third or the fourth rak'ah, or was from them, or it was from the two rak'at, from the two first rak'at, but he remembered before completing the third rak'ah. This is because the surah and the sitting were not missed. You see, if it was from the two first rak'at, you missed the surah and you probably missed the sitting. But if it was in the two first rak'ah, and you remember it after the completion of the third, you missed the surah, as we explained, and the sitting, as we explained. But if it is not, there's no problem. But if the mistake was from the two rak'at, but you remembered before you completed the third rak'ah, now I am doing my Fatiha. I'm doing Fatiha on my third rak'ah. Then I remember that in my first rak'ah, I missed the sujood. I cannot go back because I'm on my third rak'ah. But what I'm going to do, instead of reciting only Fatiha, I am going to add a surah. That's why he said at the end that because the surah and the sitting were not missed. Now the first rak'ah is voided. This third rak'ah becomes my second rak'ah. And because I have not completed yet, I can add the surah. Then I will be sitting because it is going to be my second rak'ah. For this, I'm going to make sujood ba'da salam, after salam. I don't know if it's clear. It's clear? Alhamdulillah. Now it's clear, then let's stop. Okay, he says here, وَمَنْ سَلَّمَ شَكًّا فِي كَمَالِ صَلَاتِهِ بَطَلَتْ صَلَاتُهُ. Whoever says the final salam while in doubt about the completion of the prayer, his prayer is invalid. You know, you're in doubt whether my prayer is complete or no. You cannot say Assalamu alaikum. You cannot say the final salam. As long as you are in doubt, you have to address the doubt. But if you say, I'm in doubt, but I'm going to make my salam anyway, your salah is invalid. Say, I am in doubt of whether I have 3 or 2 or 4. You know, I'm making tashahhud and this is my 3rd or my 4th. I have to consider it my 3rd. If I don't consider it my 3rd and make my salam, the salah is invalid. وَالسَّهْوُ فِي صَلَاةِ الْقَضَاءِ كَالسَّهْوِ فِي صَلَاةِ الْأَدَاءِ. The rules of forgetfulness in make-up prayers are the same as in the prayers made on time. When you make up a prayer and you make a mistake, the same rules will apply. The same rules as when you make a prayer, when you pray on time. The rules of sahw, forgetfulness in make-up prayers are the same as in the prayers made on time. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.